A historic deposition. The governor answers questions about Detroit's bankruptcy, plus merging communities to save money. Does it really make sense? An interesting running mate for Benny Napoleon. And watch what you say if you work for one mid-Michigan town. MiWeek starts right now.
Michigan's turnaround is being powered by things we do better than anywhere else in the world. Today's global leaders routinely turn to Michigan to work on their most difficult problems. That's because the engineering talent in this part of the world is simply the best. So many possibilities lie ahead for Michigan's future. These opportunities are here and starting to happen. The vision for the new Michigan. Share it, talk it up, drive it home. Funding is also provided by Delta.
Hi there and welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Christy McDonald. Coming up tonight, saving money and merging communities. If it's such a good idea, why isn't it happening more? Plus the Detroit mayor's race. One candidate is talking about a running mate of sorts. We'll see how this may or may not help him out. Plus the end of the Kwame Kilpatrick era. Really, for good. And watch what you say at work in one mid-Michigan town. We're going to explain that for you coming up. But we start tonight with Governor Snyder answering questions about Detroit's bankruptcy. It was a historic deposition, but how does it change Detroit's case? Let's start right there. And joining me now, the editorial page editor of the Detroit News, Nolan Finley. And in for Stephen Henderson tonight is Nancy Kaffer, a columnist for the editorial page at the Detroit Free Press. Nancy, welcome. Nolan, it's good to have you.
Good to be here.
Thanks.
All right, so let's start things off tonight and taking a look at Governor Snyder when he had his deposition this week. Why was this so important and why did he have to sit down?
Well, you get the feeling that this was all about the unions gathering strength for next year's election. There's nothing to be gained in terms of impacting the overall bankruptcy.
Oh, so you're saying that this is purely political, that this had nothing to do with the bankruptcy
They wanted to put
process.
Snyder on the hot seat. It's one more tactic they're employing, and you know, they wanted to gather sound bites and other ammunition to use in the gubernatorial race.
Wait, so there was nothing procedural about this at all, Nancy, that needed to get out there?
So in a municipal bankruptcy, folks who don't want you to file bankruptcy, your creditors, have only really two options. They can either prove that you're not insolvent, and for municipal bankruptcy, this is based on cash insolvency, not asset insolvency, and we all know Detroit is cash insolvent. Or they can say that you didn't negotiate in good faith prior to the filing, and those are the only two options that any creditor has to try to block a bankruptcy. So this is, you know, it's a very, I think we've seen this in bankruptcies all around the country as creditors trying to stop the bankruptcy from happening, because once the bankruptcy is in process, there's a lot not as great options for creditors to try to negotiate a better settlement.
But we've never seen a governor sit down and have to talk about
We have not.
the process and when they declare bankruptcy.
That is correct. In fact, apparently not even mayors typically are asked or submit to that kind of thing in terms of a municipal bankruptcy.
So does this get to Nolan's point then that this was political, or did they really have to hear what the timeline was in the governor's involvement in declaring bankruptcy?
You know, I think it's probably a mixture of both. I mean, I think there's definitely concern about the election, about what's going on with regard to the optics of the whole thing. But I mean, I don't think it's that out of the way. This kind of information, though the person it's coming from is different.
They were looking for a gotcha moment, something that they can use to say, well, there was something sinister in the governor's motivation. Since the beginning, the unions have been trying to create this image that you know, this was all a prepackaged done deal, and Kevin Orr has been waiting in the wings for 2 years to come in here and take over Detroit. It's trying to heighten the suspicion and create something sinister in the minds of the people. I don't think it helps the process at all, and I certainly don't think it helps the people of Detroit to constantly have this look like it's something other than trying to get the finances straight.
And now that's absolutely true. I mean, we've been talking about bankruptcy for how long? I mean, this is not the idea that Snyder and should have never considered it prior to filing bankruptcy is just crazy, because I mean, people have been talking about the possibility of a bankruptcy for Detroit for at least 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Mayor Binks started talking about it in 2010 that this could be an option.
Almost the day he took
Right.
office.
So I mean, this is not the idea that the governor should have proceeded as though bankruptcy was never something that was on the menu of things he could choose from is just sort of a bizarre notion.
Considered candidates. You know,
Right.
The idea here is that, well, he had a deal cooked up with Kevin Orr. Well, of course he talked with Kevin Orr. He talked to others. I'm not even sure Kevin Orr was his first choice, but you're not going to do that in the public forum. You're not going to be interviewing candidates publicly.
Were they trying to say really that because they had talked about bankruptcy before, actually, months and months before, that they then didn't negotiate in good faith, knowing full well that they were going to go into a bankruptcy?
I think it's sort of analogous to if you were trying to file for a personal bankruptcy. You may realize that bankruptcy is the option that's going to happen if you can't work out some other way to take care of your debt. But acknowledging that that is on the horizon doesn't mean you want to do it. I mean, you may still call your creditors and say, hey, I'll pay off this card today if you'll take 50% of what I owe you. And just, they may say no, it may not work out, but that doesn't mean that that's not the deal you wanted.
And you've got the same people who are complaining about the cost of bankruptcy and the $62 million in fees that have already been put in, and the $100 million or more still to come. These people who are complaining about the expenses of bankruptcy keep driving up the costs with all these lawsuits, with all these stalling tactics. This is going to become a very labor-intensive process if folks don't sort of back off and accept what's coming.
Well, I think that for regular folks, I'm not talking about sort of the bigger players here, but I think for regular folks, $62 million is a lot of money. And I think that it's always important
It's a lot of money to me.
Regular folks like
go.
us, that it's important to keep this in context of $18 billion in debt and liabilities that are being restructured. Mm-hmm. So we did some math back when people were saying legal fees could reach $100 million. It's like if legal fees reach $100 million, and I think we now all agree they're going to go past that, it's still like 0.1% of the total transaction. This is, in context,
A drop in the bucket compared to the main price here.
But people here want you to call Sam. Let's get it as cheaply as we can. I mean, you've got some of the best bankruptcy attorneys in the country at work on Detroit's case. Hopefully that'll pay off in a better settlement and a better process here.
Let's talk a little bit about the case. We've talked about the bankruptcy a bit. And Nancy, you wrote something this week in talking about Orr's restructuring of the city as a whole. And you don't believe that he's done all the work that he needs to do yet.
Well, and I want to also make the distinction that he hasn't been here that long, and he's got a lot of work left to do. I'm not ruling on his performance so far, just saying that some signs are not boding well.
And what are the signs that you're concerned about?
There's a lot of, when you look at the city's org chart, there's just a lot of you've got Kevin Orr, he's obviously the top guy, but he's very removed from the day-to-day operations of City Hall because he's managing the bankruptcy, he's being deposed, he's doing all the stuff he was brought in to do. But at the same time, he's also overseeing this restructuring effort that's being led by Conway McKenzie, a local turnaround firm that was brought in to streamline city government. Then you have, Mayor Bing, who's still in City Hall, but is off to the side on the org chart with no one reporting to him, yet he's still there. Then you have this new powerful CFO, Jim Bonsall. You have a lot of cooks in that kitchen. And I think that for a lot of folks in City Hall, it's kind of confusing. You've got fleets of consultants. I think there's not a lot of clarity on who they're supposed to be, pleasing at any given time.
Do you agree with that, Nolan?
No, he's only been there 3 months. I mean, if he can
since March.
Can get 3, 4, 5 months, you've had
7.
How long was Dave Bing there, and what did he get done? We've watched the political process not be able to get this done for 50 years, and this guy's cleaning up a mess and cleaning up a culture that's been allowed to fester here for decades. He's got the police department on its way. I would say it's still. We're not going to know probably for 2 years whether they're going to be able to fix that, but at least he's finally got it on its way. He's got this blight removal process underway. How long have we sat there and looked at houses deteriorating and houses coming down? He's got things underway, but you're not going to walk in the door and say, fix that, you gone, you report here. It's going to be a process. He does have Gary Brown working as well on the restructuring. He says at the end of December he's going to come up with an overall plan. I trust he'll get it done, and if he gets it done by the end of December, that will be a remarkable time frame.
Understandably so, that he has a lot of moving parts, but if there is confusion as to who people are reporting to or who they should be working for at this point, then that's a problem.
Yes, because I would say, no, I would absolutely agree. I don't expect him to have fixed all these problems in a mere 7 months, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say they shouldn't be getting worse. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I would like to, but maybe there's.
You really think that in the city people get a sense that things are getting worse, not better?
In the bureaucracy of the city.
That there's no sense of action. And again, I think he's working on the bureaucracy in terms of putting together an overarching plan instead of, these incremental changes one by one. He says by the end of December, he's going to have a plan that he'll, over the next year, implement, roll out.
Well, I guess
I don't know what we're concerned about.
All right, last word on this, Nancy.
We'll have to see what happens in December, but restructuring and making city government more effective is absolutely a hugely important part of what he's doing, because if that doesn't happen,
It is.
the finances
but
get
he
messed up
admits
again.
he's not going to get it done in 18 months. I mean, that would be a...
But I think that he has to make at least, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be taking the last word, but I think he has to at least make a major chunk out of that because, ... Here's your segue. The Detroit mayoral race is getting a little bit livelier because those are the people that are going to be taking over after Kevin Orr leaves. Benny Napoleon hinted that former Corporation Counsel Crystal Crittenden could be his deputy mayor should he be elected. I was kind of surprised when I heard this news come out this week. Does this help or hurt him? Because I would think that, whoa.
It doesn't help anybody. I mean, this was one of the... I mean, Benny's been running a bizarre campaign since the primary.
And she hasn't said that she would actually do it yet, but she's endorsed him. She endorsed him this week.
I mean, Benny's been running an absolutely dismal campaign since the primary. He was on the ticket with a nutball once before when he ran.
Power of
with
two, part
Sharon-
two.
Yeah, when he ran with Sharon McPhail. And now he went out there and said, well, who can I find that was even crazier than Sharon and get on and put her on my ticket? I wonder what, I mean, you almost think this guy is trying not to win an election.
Nancy.
But he's at a 20-point disadvantage to Mike Duggan heading into the general election. He does not have a lot of options. When you look at how the precinct results broke down in the primary, he does not have a lot of options to pick up votes. So, where is he going to get them? Lisa Howes, who I think did worse than Crystal Crittenden, wound up endorsing Mike Duggan. He can't go there. He's got very few places where he can try to pick up votes.
Yeah, but if
he's going to
people
the
are looking for leadership in this election, and you say, well, me alone is not good enough, so I'm going to take somebody else who, by the way, you already rejected, and add it to my... He's got to run on his own...
I ain't saying that's a good idea, Nolan. I'm just saying he doesn't have a lot of options.
He doesn't, but you're taking a 20-point... I would think you're taking a 20-point deficit and turning it into 40 with a move like this.
And I also think you've also pretty much just done the stamp of I don't like anything about the emergency manager. I like nothing about the governor. I like nothing about intervention. You've totally gone that route.
He took himself from a position in the primary when he was considered an option, a legitimate option, and he had a case to make for his mayoralship, and he's taken that and turned it into, okay, now we're going to go back, 10 years here and run a typically bizarre Detroit campaign.
Coming out of the primary, he's 20,000 votes poorer than Duggan in the results. He's got to try to. He had to try to tell a better story about why he should be mayor, or he had to try to get more voters to the polls. But he had to get more voters to the polls who like him more than Duggan. So it's a very challenging path he had to walk here, because I don't really see a lot of options for him to get there.
Like he just turned around.
But
and, I mean,
it does. But he's
if it's a change election, if Duggan is getting all of these people excited about change, and that's what you're hearing. Well, people are responding to Duggan's message of change, and Benny's going to say, well, I'm going to respond to that by saying we changed nothing. I'm going to go with a candidate who thought the status quo was just fine.
So there's going to be 2 debates. Are they going to make any difference, Nancy?
Probably not. I don't think anyone's really up in the air on this.
Pretty much done.
I don't think a debate's going to move. I think a debate rarely moves anything anyway, unless somebody just flops.
Well, unless you have a couple of unless there's a moment of
unless
sorts.
somebody just flops, or it's a close race, and there's a lot of people. I mean, this race has never been close. It doesn't appear, and you see no evidence of a Napoleon campaign really until this week when he did this boneheaded move.
All right. Well, let me ask you real quick before we leave this. Where are we with Belle Isle? City Council is coming up with some different ideas.
They have the option to come up with a plan that would save more money than the state's plan, or adopt the state's plan, or, they've said some of the things that they've said. They said that in the lease agreement there was the legal description of Belle Isle was incorrect and it needs to be changed. So they want some more clarity on what the terms are. I think those are reasonable things to care about. But let's get the damn thing done. It's time.
Yeah.
This is their chance to pretend to be relevant. They're going to take every minute of it. In the end, the Belle Isle lease is going to go through, because if you think this council can finally, after all these years, come up with some kind of a plan for anything, I think that's wishful thinking.
All right, well, let's move on. Turning now to a vote on the west side of the state that is getting a lot of attention. The proposed merger of two towns, Saugatuck and Douglas. It's on the ballot in November. Our partners at Bridge Magazine have an in-depth look at this, and you can find it on our website at MiWeek.org. And while this little fight is playing out along Lake Michigan, it really brings up the bigger picture of consolidation. If it can save money, why aren't more communities doing it? Does it make sense? And we hear this from the governor a lot.
Where are those two communities?
Okay, do you want me to give you a left? They're right down there. A lot of people have vacationed in Saugatuck
still
and in
Michigan?
Douglas. It's still Michigan. It's still Michigan.
I've been to Saugatuck. It's a lovely place.
Beautiful state, and they're both, small communities, about 1,000 people.
Too many Chicago people there, but other than that, it's
Nolan,
beautiful.
complaints.
Beaches are
You've
beautiful.
got Lake Michigan. There are no
Yeah.
complaints. But the governor has always talked about consolidating services, and you've already got two towns that are sharing some of the services. So why aren't more communities doing this?
It's a hard thing for communities to do, to give up local identity. But you're starting to see in southeastern Michigan, out west, elsewhere, communities figuring out ways that they can put services together, share EMS, share police and fire, share other municipal services, particularly if they're small units and they're geographically contingent. I think it's the next step you're going to see as people run out of ways. I mean, you can only cut so many people, you can only cut services so much before you're forced to be more innovative. And I think that's what the governor's been pushing people to do since he came into office. Consolidate as much as you can, save as much as you can, deliver the same service for less money.
Then why aren't we seeing more of this, Nancy?
Why don't people eat right and exercise?
Well,
I mean, people are very wedded to their community's identity, which is understandable. But we really have to get past this because the number of duplicative functions in this state, specifically in the metro area, but obviously elsewhere in the state as well, it's so wasteful. I used to cover schools in Dearborn Heights, which is a town of about 60,000 that has 4 school districts, each at that time with a superintendent making 6 figures. Okay, so why do you need 4 different school districts to serve the children of 60,000 residents? Not even 60,000 children, because that was the total population.
But people are fiercely loyal to these units of government.
They are.
And they have to make a choice. Do you want to pay for that local identity, or do you want decent services? And it's particularly, as Nancy said, particularly true in school districts. You've got the same situation in Warren, St. Clair Shores. You just can't get them to put these school districts together.
And when there's been some success in some of the downriver communities that they've had collaborative services, far from a merger, but at least combining public safety functions or dispatch functions. So it seems like there's more traction to get places with specific functions being merged as opposed to the community.
Yeah,
identity.
and I think we've seen that in a lot of different places. But when it comes right down to like merging either your council, your city manager, you're getting some pushback on that. And when it's come down to a vote, the people aren't voting for it. So is it more education of how things can change, or is this just something that people won't inherently want to do?
It's when it hits them in the pocketbook, when it hits them in their quality of life. If a community can't provide the same level of services for the money you're giving them, you've got a choice to make. You can look for efficiencies, or you can pay more in taxes. I think in the end, they'll look for more efficiencies because nobody wants to pay higher taxes.
Because this situation is not going to get better. The University of Michigan's Public Policy Center had done a survey of government units earlier in this year, and even municipal governments right now that feel very stable financially and feel like they've been able to manage through the economic problems are saying that they don't expect that to continue, that they're worried about 5 years out how things are going to be. So even if you live in a community that hasn't taken a huge hit or has been able to manage through a huge hit pretty successfully, the people who are running your city are probably concerned about the future.
And in that study,
So
it was
are
the
they
smaller communities that were in the most distress.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
would suggest, and there is a point at which you can be too big to be efficient. You've got to hit that point. But it's these smaller communities, 5,000, 10,000 population or less, that are having the most trouble maintaining their services
particularly
and
when
quality of life.
particularly when there's no business tax base there, as there are in these very small places, and the residents are bearing everything on their backs.
So maybe it's not merging the governments per se, but starting more with the services
That's a
and
start.
having those conversations now before you're at the point where you have to do
That's
something.
where it starts, and it's a similar, situation like Detroiters are facing with Belle Isle. What's your priority? To have a nice park and nice services, regardless of who provides them, or to maintain strict local control. And that's the same choice these local communities face. Does it matter if your name is on the police car door, or does it matter that that police car is there when you need it?
I thought one of the most telling things in the Bridge Magazine article about the Saugatuck-Douglas potential merger was a line at the very end when one of the residents said, "What would we call it? I don't even know what we'd call it. Saugadug? I don't like that." It's like, that's the least important.
Douglas
But that's something that people think about. They say, what will we call ourselves?
That's what I'm saying. That's the.
Saugatuck.
But that's what people are. That's the kind of thing I think that trips people up. I think it's hard for them to get to even thinking about the bigger issues because of these little things kind of trip you up. Would we still be our community?
But
what would we call
I
ourselves?
think you have to put it to people like this. Do you want to pay the specific amount, or do you want to keep your local identity? I think people need to see the cost and see the savings.
And is there any reason they can't keep calling themselves Saugatuck and Douglas, but just have a Saugatuck-Douglas government? I mean, of course not.
That's right.
That's the easiest fix in the whole mess.
And Nolan, we wouldn't put you in charge of making up the name. I don't think you did a good job.
No, I'm against that.
Okay. Well, you know what? It is the end of an era. Kwame Kilpatrick sentenced to prison today in the corruption scandal. We do tape a little bit earlier on in the day, so we don't have the exact number. But I want to talk in terms of this is finally it. And can we finally close the book on him and stop talking about his impact and what he's done to the region and really, I'd argue, to the state?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is yes. And what we've heard during this whole sentencing process over the last week or two, we've been reminded again and getting new information, new revelations about the extent of the corruption and the extent of the damage that he did to the city of Detroit. And I think this is a good place to send him off. Hopefully we won't hear much from him again. He'll be in a federal pen somewhere and be done with the Kwame Kilpatrick era and try to get over the damage that was done.
Can we ever get over the damage he's done, Nancy?
Well, we have to. There's really not an option. I mean, I think we need to not forget that this is the kind of thing that can happen. I think we've kind of, maybe I'm an optimist, but I feel like we've moved into a place where this is just not acceptable anymore. I think there was a long time where this was standard operating procedure. I think one thing you have to give Dave Bean credit for was coming in and setting a tone that this sort of corruption was just not going to stand in Detroit. We've got a very aggressive U.S. attorney who's not standing, very vigilant on corruption. This is just it has to be the start of a new era for us, or else there's just no hope.
Well, it's a new era in the city of Detroit. We still got grand juries going elsewhere and looking at things.
Right.
I don't think we're done with the corruption, and that's unfortunate. But I heard someone describe this to me the other day, and in really poignant terms, says the Kwame Kilpatrick, the failure of that administration and the absolute corruption of that administration and the number of people it touched wiped out a generation of young leaders, people who he brought up with him, people who were around him, who are now tainted, and it will take years to recover. Some of them, went to jail themselves or were convicted themselves and are now gone for good in terms of public service. It just took out so many bright young people along with him.
That's a great point.
He had a big weight.
That's a great point. That was a great point.
It's just such a waste.
Yeah, it was a waste. And I think, but finally, we've gone through the process of, we started the trial and then waiting for the verdict and now waiting for the sentencing, and now the fact that it is finally done, that we can move past this, I think is going to be a breath of fresh air for everyone.
Until he sends the next letter from prison saying that he can't do whatever it is that he needs to do because of a thing.
He'll pop up occasionally, he'll want to do interviews occasionly. But I mean,
but I don't think there's any interest for that anymore. Do you even really think that there's interest for that?
I hope not, and I hope that that voters, not just in Detroit but elsewhere, have learned a lesson here about doing a little better job scrutinizing the people they elect. When he ran for re-election, we didn't endorse him, and we started out our editorial that said, character matters. This guy doesn't have the character to lead a city, and I think we've got to pay attention to the character of our elected officials.
All right, we'll leave it there, and it's time now for headlines. It's time of the show. We take a look at some of the other headlines that caught our attention this week. And I saw one out of mid-Michigan in Flushing Township. Apparently, the township supervisor put out an email telling people, board members and also employees, that there is no personal talk at the township offices anymore. If you have any business to attend, you've got to attend to it.
Good efficient government.
Do not talk to employees about anything personal.
So if you read between the lines on that story, it sounds like maybe there's, I don't know, some board members who are always hanging around yapping at the employees, because there's a part in there there's a part in there that says employees must report if someone comes up and talks. It sounds to me like some employees are like, guys, you got to get these people off our back. Like, we can't.
Exactly. And tell me what they said, by the way. And if it wasn't business, tell me exactly what they said. So watch what you say if you work in Flushing Township.
Row.
It's all business. Yeah. All business. All right. What'd you see, Nolan?
Well, I like the story out of Texas where the woman was driving a car on the freeway with her son, and he apparently was aggravating the heck out of her, as kids will do. And she just stopped the car and put him out and said, you know, she warned him, if you don't shut up, you're going to walk home. So she pulled over on the side of the freeway, let the kid out, and about 10 miles later, the police found him walking along the freeway. And, you know, when I heard that, I was sort of really rooting for the mom, but they arrested her because we've all been there.
You've all been there, but you can't put a kid on the side of the freeway, Nolan.
I know, but I bet next time she says, hey, shut up or I'm putting you out of this car, he shuts up.
You know what, Nolan? I am waiting for the parenting book, Nolan's Parenting Tips, to come out. I'm sure it'll be a bestseller.
This poor woman, they don't know what she went through up to that point.
Yeah, but you cannot put a child on the side of the freeway. The end. Some things you just can't do. Nancy.
I was charmed by a story about how a variety of communities around the state have a masked vigilante out there trying to right wrongs. There's Petoskey Batman. There's some other folks who are dressing up in costumes and attempting to, I don't know, be superheroes. Turns out the police don't really care for vigilante justice.
And we'll have to leave it on that one. Nancy Kaffer, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us for My Week. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Business Leaders for Michigan is dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and economic growth. Learn more at businessleadersformichigan.com. Funding is also provided by Delta,